Let's start with our breathing so we can center in and really be in this place and time and not let the things that distract us pull us off course. So you ready? Go ahead and loosen your hands. Let your belly go really poochy soft. Give yourself a little Mona Lisa smile. Oh, look, here's Chester. Chester decided to come say hi. Say hi, Chester. You never get stressed out about technology, do you? Okay, good. Good. So be like a cat, relaxed in all situations, wanting for nothing. You ready? We're going to inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8, and we're going to do that 3 times. Let's inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One more time. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you. Thank you for doing this with me. Okay, so let's get into this. Falling in love with your life again, reconnecting with your creativity, passion, and joy. That's really what we're here for and what we're about. And you are here because you are fighting inertia. Inertia is the strongest force in the universe. Inertia is what pulls us down. Inertia is what, it's like going through quicksand. You know, when things aren't going well, when they're not going right, when we get bored with our lives or dulled to what's happening, we feel like it's too late for us, or like things never go our way, we slow down. And the more the mechanism slows down, the more it continues to slow down. And that's inertia. It's the strongest force in the universe. So you're here because of inertia. You're also here because you're tired of procrastinating. You are tired of procrastinating. You have a great idea. You know it's a great idea. It's been a great idea all this time. And yet you are not moving forward. It pulls at your sleeve, it knocks at the door, and you're not doing it. Or maybe you did it for a while and then you stopped and you can't seem to quite pick it back up again. You might also be here because you are tired of the endless self-criticism. The voice in your head that tells you that you are not enough, you're not good enough, who do you think you are? Everybody's going to laugh at you, nobody's going to pay for that. You know, get who you are, you're too old, you're too fat, you're too weird, you're too everything. Inertia, procrastination, self-criticism. These are the links of the chains that keep us stuck. Am I right? You nodding? You feeling me? And what you want, Deb is saying, I want to focus and finish the projects that have been knocking at my door. Exactly. You want to feel juicy. You want to feel sexy. You want to feel connected. You want to feel lit up. You want to be a light in the world to the people who love you, to the communities that you're involved in. You want to be a beacon of hope and creativity and insight, right? So I called this class Falling in Love Again, Fall in Love with Your Life Again, for a really specific reason, because I really wanted to talk about that feeling of falling in love again. So I want you to tell me, go ahead and type into the chat, what does think back to that time, the last time you fell in love, or a time you fell in love. And what did it feel like? What did it feel like? Just picture it in your mind, picture yourself. I remember when I remember waiting at the window for Luke to come. I could see him walking down the street, and he was coming on the train. So it was even more romantic, right? The train goes right near my house. You'll probably hear it today as we're talking. And I was waiting at the window. I could hear the train coming, and then I saw him coming down the sidewalk. I was so excited. So what does it feel like to you? What do you get? I get that charged up, sort of fluttery feeling. Hi, Chester. Go ahead. What do you get? Dawn Ray says, I felt vibrantly alive. Yeah, exactly. Can't stop smiling. Can't think about anything else. Yes, 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 yes. You feel like anything is possible, says Tanya. Exactly. And that feeling of that just love is everywhere. That love is everywhere. And the ordinary things in life don't bother you, right? The people in the parking lot, the whatever, you're just like, oh, love is everywhere. Love is in these flowers. Love is in this old man sitting on the bench. Love is everywhere. And when people are unhappy or grouchy and you're just like, oh, that's so sad. They don't know that love is everywhere, right? Blissful oblivion, right? Exactly. Good. Tell me a little more. What else? What else was it like? Can you feel it in your body? I can sort of feel the energy going, right? Zhuzh. And what was your attitude? What did you feel about the world when you were in love? And maybe you fell in love with a person. Maybe you fell in love with a child. Maybe the last person you fell in love with was your child or a grandchild. Maybe it was a kitty. Maybe it was, I was demonstrating yesterday, maybe a pair of shoes. I fell in love with these. I love them. And I had that feeling of destiny. That's another feeling of like, of recognition, of like, oh, hello, there you are. Thank you, my shoes. Thank you for being here. Jesus wants us to be together, Do you have some of that too? That feeling of destiny, that feeling of being joined together? Yeah. Blissful oblivion, out of time and space. I loved how I was showing up, who I was in the relationship. Yes. Deborah says, I was phobic about elevators, but my guy lived on the 4th floor and I found myself taking the lift without a problem. That's a great insight, right? Things that were previously terrifying or impossible seem easy when you're in love. Every song seems made for you, right? Good. Now, I want you to notice right now how easily you are able to conjure up that feeling. How easily you are able to give yourself that falling in love feeling. You have 100% power over the flow of love in your life. If you are a writer downer, write that down. I am 100% in charge of the flow in love of my life. You don't need another person to fall in love with. You don't need for things to be going your way. You don't need success. You don't need approval. You don't need $1 million in the bank. You don't need to be younger or thinner or less weird or less anything. You, right now, just this moment together, had that feeling, had that lit up falling in love feeling. And you have that power all the time. You have that power all the time. And as we seek spiritual maturity, right, which is the ability to take 100% responsibility for everything in our lives, take 100% responsibility for everything in our lives, not for everything that happens, but for our reaction to everything, the way we handle ourselves from the inside out. We can't control things that happen in the world, of course. And it's one of the things that bothers me sometimes about some aspects of the self-help industry is they act like, oh, you manifested it. Like, people who have bad things happen to them just aren't positive thinking enough or just aren't working hard enough. That's ridiculous. Shitty things happen to everybody all the time. Wonderful things happen to everybody all the time too. But what you can control is your reaction to it. So notice that you don't need anything external to have that falling in love feeling, and that you don't need them to love you back. Byron Katie, I remember, was talking about this one time about how that first love, that first crush you ever had, the purity of that love, the completeness of that love, of that poster on the wall in your bedroom. I remember having very strong feelings about Leif Garrett, because that's how old I am. David Cassidy, And, you know, I didn't even want to know them. I didn't want them to know me. I just wanted to love them. I felt seen and loved and known by them, even though I was an 11-year-old girl in a bedroom in Chicago, right? So notice too, just like Deborah was saying about taking the elevator, how much easier it is to change your life from this in love state of being, right? From this in love state of being, it is easy to change your life. You feel relaxed, you feel optimistic, you feel like the world is on your side. And that's always true. And that's always available to you. So that's pretty simple, right? But kind of deep, kind of profound. And that's kind of what I do. So if you don't know me already, my name is Sam Bennett. I'm the creator of the organizedartistcompany.com. I'm an author. I've written, traditionally published 2 books, one called Get It Done, From Procrastination to Creative Genius in 15 Minutes a Day, and the other one called Start Right Where You Are, How Little Changes Can Make a Big Difference for Overwhelmed Procrastinators, Frustrated Overachievers, and Recovering Perfectionists. And those are available in your local bookstore, Amazon, Kindle, Audible. They're available as audiobooks. They make a lovely gift. I know a lot of you already have those books, but if you don't, make them, they're available for you. And this is kind of what I do, is I uncork creativity. I uncork creativity. I uncork your creativity, your creative voice within yourself, and also allowing your creativity out into the world. And I do it mostly with stuff like this, with pretty simple techniques. Simple, not always easy, but simple. And I do it in service of a mission I have. I have a mission. I'll tell you my mission. My mission is to have 1 million creatives by 2020 in some kind of space, some kind of virtual space, some kind of field or corral or imaginary castle or something, where there's 1 million creatives all over the world spending at least 15 minutes a day on the projects that matter most to them. Wouldn't that be great? If every creative person spent 15 minutes a day on the projects that matter most to them, and then talked about it. I kind of want to change the conversation in the world. Like, I want people standing around the water cooler talking about, you know, oh, I've been doing, you know, counted cross stitch. Really? I've been writing crappy poetry. I was writing crappy poetry last week. I play guitar. Like, and it doesn't have to be artistic, because I think everybody's a creative genius, right? Not everyone is artistic, in the same way that not everyone is musical, but everyone has the problems they love to solve, the things they love to engage in. And can you imagine what a world it would be if everybody was spending at least a little bit of time, 15 minutes a day, on the projects that light them up and interest them every day? So that's what I'm working on. That's my project. And it makes me curious what your project is. What if you were going to spend 15 minutes a day on something that mattered the most to you? What would it be? What are the projects that are knocking at your door? I'm curious. I love to know. I love to know what you all are working on. You know, is it a book? Is it a book proposal? Is it cleaning out the spare room? Is it something to do with textiles or fabric? Is it something to do with paper? Is it something to do with beads? Let's see. Is it something you want to teach? Deb says, a deck of uplifting high spirits cards. I love that. Andrew, developing intuitive software. God bless you, Andrew. Thank you. Yes. Fantastic. Fantastic. Good. What else? I was talking to somebody yesterday who's done a children's book. Tamara says, I just spent 10 minutes switching computers and getting the audio to work. Good job. Way to hang in there. Way to hang in there. I know it's frustrating. Ebook to teach people how to get through a breakup. Yes, 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 yes. So aren't these great projects? Right? Tanya says, love it. Where do I start? Writing, organizing my craft room so I can have a beautiful, inspiring place to create. Yes. And you can see, you can feel that if these projects were done, the world would be a better place, right? Now, I want to know what's getting in your way. What's holding you back? Is it, you know, do you need, is it, oh, well, I would do it except for the money. Like, I need $36,000.50, you know, is it time? Is it some kind of frustration or some kind of self-doubt? What do we have here? Stacy says, community building for disenfranchised people via teaching, kids, books, and art. Oh my gosh, these are still projects. I want to make business calls expecting nothing but just for the fun of it. I love it. That's great. Andrew says that corporate America is holding him back. Yep, corporate America will do that to you. What else? What else? Is there some kind of self-doubt holding you back? And I'm curious exactly what self-doubt. Like, do you doubt that you could actually do the work? Do you doubt that people will love it? Do you doubt that, you know, your hands are strong enough, that you're funny enough, that your spirit is willing? Doubt that people will pay for it? Absolutely nothing is holding me back. I can't figure out why I haven't completed this yet. Yeah, is there's just some invisible wall between you and it? Like, you keep coming up against this invisible wall. I'm holding me back. Yeah. How is that showing up for you? Stacy says, I need to feel safe enough, secure enough financially to go deep into the creative process and manifesting important stuff. Wendy says, inertia is holding me back. Good. Okay. Now, here's what I want you to notice. I want you to notice how cool everybody else's project seems and how much the thing that they think is holding them back, you don't really see as a problem. Like, if they were a friend, you'd go, oh, honey, come on. That's not really a thing. You don't really need to feel financially secure to get your work done. Let's go. You're as financially secure as you're going to be. Let's do it. Right. You know, inertia, that's silly. Let's just get to work. You know, I need to, of course people will pay for it, Tamara. You know, of course. So you love everybody else's project and you think it's great. And you sort of see that the thing that they think is holding them back isn't really holding them back. And yet you doubt that your project is really valid enough, and you think that what's holding you back is real. Right? Yeah. So notice that your project is just as great and interesting as everybody else's is. And the thing that's holding you back is not real. It's not real. And I know you guys are spiritually evolved enough to be like, oh, but Sam, mine is real. It really is. I mean, I know it's not real, but it is. I know. I have that feeling too sometimes. And I have a strategy actually that I'm going to teach you at the end. It's very simple, but kind of amazing strategy for how to handle those invisible blocks, the ones that really can't seem to be moved, how to handle them until they do move. Because you know how that is. Sometimes you have a block forever and then all of a sudden you don't. Like, all of a sudden it's okay. So I'll talk about what to do in that waiting times to make it maybe move a little quicker. Fear of disappointment. Yeah, because not doing it is making your life less disappointing. Like, you're going to not be disappointed? No, disappointment happens whether you do your work or not, right? So you might as well do the work. Fear of disappointment. Yeah. So this is where we're at, right? We're stuck in inertia. We're stuck in procrastination. We're stuck with the negative voices. We want to feel that feeling of love again. And now we notice that we can feel that falling in love feeling again. That falling in love feeling is totally available to us. And then we look at our projects. What is it? Oh, could we say it? Could we get it out there? What's holding us back? What's blocking us? Feels very real. Feels very real. And I can still hear some of you in my mind going like, yeah, no, Sam, I know it's not real, but seriously, mine is real. Mine is totally real. Everybody else's isn't real, but mine is totally real. I get it. So I'm going to talk to you through a little process that sort of illuminates the creative process a little bit and might give you some insights into your own blocks and where you're getting stuck or stopped and how to maybe keep going. Okay. So here's my slides. Here's my beautiful slides. Okay. New piece of paper. A a lot of times I think where's my good pen? Where's the pen I love? Oh, there it is. Okay, so we get this idea, right? We have an idea. And we want it to become a thing, right? So there's the idea, and there's the thing. And the thing is whatever the result is. You know, we want money, we want a completed project, we want to get something produced or written or whatever. And we get frustrated with ourselves because we have this idea and it's not turning into a thing. We have a vision of a clean craft room and it's not turning into the thing of a clean craft room. We have a vision of a book and it's not turning into a book. So, but there's some other steps along this process. Can you guys hear the motorcycle? There's some other steps along this process that might illuminate a little bit for you guys. So the first step is to remember that the idea comes from somewhere. Where does it come from? I don't know. It's a mystery, right? We're going to say it just comes from, draw a little infinity symbol here, a little sort of cockeyed infinity symbol. It comes from the ether. It comes from God. It comes from the confluence of events that show up in your mind in a certain way. But the idea comes from somewhere, and it arrives in your head as an idea. And if that idea is met by positivity, by curiosity, by acceptance, by interest, by nodding, there might be an initial action, right? There might be an initial action. And that initial action is the stage that I call the sparkly breadcrumb stage, right? Sparkly breadcrumb is like you have that idea and then you start looking in the world for like, how could I? And that's when you're like, oh, maybe I'll Google that. Maybe there's a website that I heard of, or oh, maybe I should call that person, or maybe I'm just going to sketch it out a little bit, or I'm going to get the back of this napkin and just write some stuff out, right? That's the initial action, that initial exploratory moment. And this is a really valuable time, and I want you to notice what happens for you when this happens for you, when something comes from the ether to an idea into that initial action, because really notice how you're feeling. Because sometimes we have an idea, the idea is met with some, positivity. I'm going to call that the helpfuls. It's met by some helpfuls. And helpfuls, again, is you being interested, lit up, nodding, signs, signals, coincidences, serendipity, happy findings. Yeah. But sometimes you have an idea, you take an initial action, and like it's a big no, right? You get a lot of knees and elbows. It's a lot of things are confusing. It's way harder than you thought it was going to be, or somebody's already done that exact thing, or whatever. It's just not the right time. And that's fine. So, the idea goes back into the ether. Sometimes we stop it here, right? Sometimes the idea is met by what we call the unhelpfuls. And the idea goes back then, right? You have the idea, and the idea is immediately met by, well, who do you think you are? Nobody's going to pay for that, and that's not going to work, and you can't do that. You're not capable of that. Nobody wants that from you. Boom. The idea goes back into the ether when it's met by the unhelpfuls. Sometimes sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the idea persists forever. It refuses to go back to the ether. It just stands there like, no, I'm your idea. I'm not leaving. Sometimes ether, idea, initial action. The initial action is met by a bunch of unhelpfuls, bad signs, not going to work. It goes back to the ether. Or it can go back to the idea stage too. And then there's this last bit called momentum, continued action. Do you guys love my slides? And this is the part that most people see and most people think of when they think of creative work, right? This is the getting it done part. And you know, it's the part that people often comment on, you know, like, how did you memorize all those lines? It's like, oh, the memorizing the lines, believe me, is the easiest part of that, you know, of acting. Or how did you type all those words? You know, believe me, the typing is not the big deal. And sometimes this flow is really easy and swift. Sometimes it's hard and kind of a slog. Sometimes you need other people. But eventually, if you keep going, you know, so you get more helpfuls, other people, more signs and signals, funding, green lights, right? It becomes a thing. But sometimes in the middle of the momentum, you get tired, you get bored, you start to feel like it might really work. And then that's totally terrifying and people might really love it and you might be really successful. And so you drop it like a hot potato. Or you just get sparkly thing, right? And it goes back to the ether. And some people, like Liz Gilbert, I think, has a theory that once an idea goes back into the ether, it's then available for somebody else. And this is when sometimes we see somebody else do our idea, right? Somebody else writes your book, somebody else puts out your product or your course, and you're like, I had that idea. Yeah, but you didn't do anything with it. So it went back into the gumball machine and somebody else got it, right? So I want to tell you two stories that illuminate this a little bit. One's about me and one's about my sweetheart. And the first one is about this part of the process. This ether into idea stage. Luke, some of you know Luke. Luke is my person. I call him my husband-ish, because if we could be bothered to get married, we would be married, but we're not. Luke is a musician, a composer. He has almost all of a PhD in music theory. He has a master's in musicology and a master's in composition. And he writes, composes, and arranges music, both classical music and rock and roll music. And the other day he mentioned that he was out of manuscript paper. So I got him a couple of manuscript. I was ordering some stuff from Amazon anyway. So I threw in a couple of notebooks of manuscript paper for him. And they arrived and I hadn't told him I was doing it. So he was all like, oh, honey, how thoughtful. What a delightful surprise. And he said, you know, I've had this little tune in my head all day. I think I'm going to write it down. So he did. He wrote it out on the manuscript paper and then he took a picture of it and he posted it on Facebook. Now, and then the next day, he says, oh, I've got another little tune in my head. I'm going to go ahead and write this out. And he writes it out and he posts it on Facebook. And now he's been doing this every day for over a week. Here's what's fascinating about this. He's had a tune in his head every day forever. He always has a tune in his head. And he gets a tune in his head and then he would work it out inside his mind. And then he would just let it go. He never wrote it down. And he said what he thought was that if he didn't remember it, it wasn't really worth remembering. So why bother? But once he moved it into initial action and got some momentum going, it became a thing and it could get out into the world. And he's like, oh, and now I remember them because I've written them down. And now other people, we just got to think from our neighbors, like, oh, I've been playing your tunes. And he did one yesterday that's like a little hymn. He did one that's like a Viennese waltz. He did one that's like a sort of a 1964 Beatles tune. And I've always known that there was always music going inside his head, because you could almost see it. He's very smart, and he'll sit there talking to me and, listening and nodding, and he's truly listening. Like he can actually repeat back to you what I've been saying. He'll nod, but I can almost hear the music inside his head because he's always composing. And a lot of you are like that. You always have an idea cooking. You always have a story cooking. You always have a plot going. You're always inventing something, but it never leaves this stage. Seem familiar? Deborah's asking, so what is the big deal if it's not typing or memorizing? The big deal is the inner work of getting it out into the world, I think. The bravery of being honest and authentic. I think that's the biggest part. The technical aspects of art are rarely the challenging parts. But that's a good question. You can figure out what it is for you. That is what it is for me, being brave. Okay, so speaking of me, I was always really good at this part. This is why I have a business called the Organized Artist Company and why I teach a class called Get It Done, because I'm good at this kind of thing. So I can go from ether to idea to initial action to momentum, boom, boom, boom. Very rarely is there a problem. My problem comes right here, right in this last little bit right here. And the way it would show up, it's like I could go from 1 to 99, no problem. 0 to 99, all green lights, and then boom, things would totally fall apart. And I still don't exactly know what this is entirely about, but it happened all over my acting career. My acting career was, and continues to be fairly successful compared to a lot of people, but it never went as far as it should have because I would get called in, I would get an audition, I would audition, I'd get called back, it'd be down to me and 2 other girls, it'd be down to me and 1 other girl, and the other girl would get it. Over and over and over again. Called in, audition, call back, no. Project moving forward, everybody's excited, there's funding, oh my gosh, it's gonna happen. The producer moves to Morocco. Dead, gone, the project's dead. I can't count how many times this has happened where it's like, it's going, it's really happening, like all the signs and signals are good, and then boom, nothing. And it was so frustrating. Like I felt really impotent and really angry because I'm like, I'm doing everything right. I'm following the idea. I'm following my intuition. I'm getting momentum. I'm getting the team together. I'm doing the thing. And then boom, brick wall. What is that about? So I started to look at where else in my life is this happening? Like, I don't know what it meant in my creative career. I still can't exactly solve that. I have some theories, but I noticed that there were times when I was not going all the way to 100, where I would do 1 to 99 and then I would stop myself. For example, I go to CrossFit, which makes me a total badass. And sometimes in CrossFit, we have to warm up by having a little 400-meter run. So I run the 400 meters. As I'm running back and just about to come back into the box, into the building, like I'll stop. I can walk the last 10 steps. Why am I stopping? Why am I not running all the way in the door? Why do I not keep the run going all the way through the door? Like, oh, I'm almost there, so I can stop. I'll slow down. No, you're not. You're almost there. You're not there. Keep going. So now I've been disciplining myself to keep going and not walk those last couple of steps. I also, and this is embarrassing. This is an embarrassing story. True confessions with Sam Bennett. I, like a lot of you, people give you nice lotions or stuff, and so I would get these nice lotions and I'd use them all up, or hair products or whatever. And I'd use it up until there was this much left in the bottle. And then I'd be like, oh, I have to save it for good. Like I can't use it up. Again, 1 to 99, why not all the way? Why not all the way? Why am I stopping? So I started to make it a discipline to use up all the shampoo, use up all the lotion, or just throw it out. Like, get over it. You're done. Be finished. You don't need to scrape the bottom of every barrel. Just move on. So these are the ways that we get in our own way, right? These are the things that stop us. And I think looking at our progress in this way and looking at, okay, what are the helpful things that happen along the way? What are the systems that support me? What are the communities that support me? What are the people who support me? What are the ideas that support me? And what are the things that do not support me? What are the unhelpfuls? What gets in my way? What discourages me? What talks me out of it? What what blocks me, and how can I move from ether to idea to initial action to momentum to pushing all the way through to there being a thing, right? So this is what I'm curious about for you. And this is really what the Get It Done workshop is all about. Because big surprise, I'm teaching the Get It Done workshop again. So I want to talk to you about that. It'll only take a minute because it's a very simple program. And then I'll see if I can answer some of your questions. You can go look at the sales page, the page with all the information on it, at monstergetitdone.com. The Get It Done workshop is my flagship workshop. It's the way the Organized Artist Company started, was me teaching this workshop like in a church basement to 11 people in Van Nuys, California. Water, anybody? And it's great. It's 6 weeks. We're going to do it live on Zoom like this. And so it's super interactive. I'll be here to answer your questions. For those of you who've taken the Get It Done workshop before, there are a lot of the same stuff. You know, we're going to stick with some of the classics. Get a C. But there's also some new stuff this year. I've been working on some stuff about values work, so that your work is actually a force for good in the world. Your values are actually in operation out in the world through your work. We'll do some stuff about that. And I've also been doing some interesting work around abundance, around true abundance, in both in terms of wealth and also in terms of time, in terms of creativity, in terms of a lot of things. So we're going to work on some of that too. And it's a lot of these strategies, you know, it's a lot of tools that are simple but not easy, right? Like the falling in love thing. It's simple, but it's not always easy. It's not easy to have to call up that feeling for yourself. It's not easy to make it happen. And to have that inner discipline. 15 minutes a day. It's very simple, but it's not always easy. And I love it. And I know it's not easy because I teach it all the time and people always nod. They always get it. That's nothing complicated about it. It's certainly not the 15-minute a day thing, especially isn't unique to me. I didn't invent it. I just carry the flag. But then I get people who email me or call me and go, oh my gosh, Sam, you've been saying this thing and I just tried it and it totally worked. I got this amazing result. It's like, well, yeah, because that's what happens. So if you need support in getting your work out there and getting it done, whether it's cleaning out the garage or dealing with a big pile of paperwork or writing a book or starting a business or launching a website or just zhuzhing up your life again or figuring out which of your 97 projects you should be doing right now, that's what the Get It Done workshop is for. You get a bunch of bonuses. You get something that I usually sell for $500 called How to Make $1,000 Anytime You Want. How to Make $1,000 Anytime You Want is a 2-hour webinar that is kind of amazing. It's designed especially for creative people who want to bring in a little cash, and it sort of walks you in the side door, spins you around 3 times, sprinkles you with fairy dust, and then boom, you have a plan to bring in money in the next couple of weeks. And not just a theoretical plan, but an actual plan for you and your actual life, your energy level, your life conditions, your talents and skills, you right now. This is not I could do this in theory. Like, you can actually do it this afternoon. So you get that right away. The minute you register, you get that. And you also get a year in the 365 Club, which means that you get monthly calls with me. Because the 6-week class is great, right? But then you have a project and then, 6 months later, you're in a different spot. And I want to be able to support you then as well. So you get lifetime access to those recordings. You can come back anytime. You get the monthly calls with me. There is also a private Facebook page, which is a great way to connect with each other. I think sometimes we feel very, very alone. Being a creative can be a really lonely business. It's estimated that only 10 to 20% of the population is highly creative, like you guys. So that means you can't always find us just standing on any street corner. and your family and friends don't always understand what you're doing. You need a community of people who understand what you're doing and who will cheerlead for you and help you answer questions and cry with you when you have a nervous breakdown and tell you that everything's going to be fine. So that community is super valuable. You also get access to the entire library of those calls, which is hundreds of hours of recordings. So those 2 bonuses alone, I think, kind of make it worth it. You also get a couple of books and the whole thing. So it's like $1,000 worth of bonuses and courses, and it's $365. So it's $1 a day for your project. And there's a 3-pay. You can pay $141 over 3 months. And depending on when you're watching this recording, there may be a very special payment plan on the order form. There may be some other bonuses. We're going to add things in and take things away as we get closer to the start date, which is the first Tuesday in October, which I think is the 3rd. The classes meet Tuesdays at noon Pacific time. And again, it's great if you can be here live, but if you can't, the recordings are available and you can catch them anytime. And you can always email me with questions or hit the Facebook page with questions. And satisfaction guaranteed, or your money cheerfully refunded. So if you're having any interest in this at all, I would just go ahead and sign up. Because if it turns out it's not for you, just let me know and I'll give you your money back. No questions asked. It makes me crazy. Like, some coaches and teachers and friends of mine in personal development are like, well, I make them prove to me that they've been on every call and that they've done all the homework. And I'm like, oh, please. People, you guys are adults. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Like, I'm happy to give, if I haven't helped, I'm happy to give you your money back. So that's it. Get It Done workshop starts the first Tuesday of October, but go ahead and get it now because there's a special something on the order form for you. $365, money back if you're not fully satisfied. How to Make $1,000 webinar available instantly. You get to keep that even if you cancel, which nobody ever does, but you're in the 365 club, and a couple books, and then the Get It Done workshop. So I'd love to have you there if that feels like right to you. And if you're having that feeling of like, oh no, not another workshop, there's so many other things I haven't completed, I buy every book and I don't read them, or I sign up for these classes but then I don't always listen to all of them. Let me tell you my theory on this. First of all, I think sometimes you don't finish those other classes because they're boring. Like, I enroll in a lot of them too, and like the first 2 are interesting and then they just get super boring and you push yourself to listen and it's not worth it. So I don't mean to talk smack about anybody, but it's kind of true. But I sort of feel like I have a little tiny personal theory that, we were talking about the helpfuls. I have a theory that there's a helpful for everyone that's like a guardian angel in charge of your education. And like, she's the one who made sure you had that great teacher for that one class you thought you weren't going to like, or, made sure you sailed through that exam you weren't sure you were going to do. And she's the one who like puts books and courses in front of you, but then takes them away when you're done. Like, if you've only read to page 150 in a book and can't seem to make yourself pick it back up, that's her. That's her. That's your guardian angel being like, no, you're done. Move on. So that's my theory. So yeah, that's what it is. And you can tell the other people in the group are amazing. They're up to amazing things. You get amazing insights, amazing connections get made. Let me see if you guys have any questions about this. And then I'll tell you that one strategy I was going to give you around breaking through those blocks that feel really real. Let's see. Deborah, so we've got like 4 Debs and Debras on this call. I've been working with index cards. I love index cards. Big fan of index cards. They're small and not overwhelming. A thought here, an idea here, sort of like Luke's tunes. Completion has its own issues. Once you actually finish the thing you've been working on, you have to figure out what's next. So true. Andrew says this he's been having to reconnect. That's annoying. Sorry about that. I hope the replay is solid. Tamara says she just opened up the second to last box in her office so she can get her stuff done. Fantastic. Stacy says creativity is a right brain activity outside of time, altered state, spiritual. and we live in a left brain, logic, product oriented world. The challenge is to be able to shift from one mode of thinking to the other. Both are necessary. Yes, that's true. I think I don't think of them as being so as divergent as other people seem to. I don't feel that. I was just working with a client the other day who was like, I'm super logical and I'm super creative, and the logical side is always mad at the creative side, and the creative side is always mad at the logical side. And I'm like, no, I think it's both. I think you're both at the same time. I don't think it's sides. I think it's together. So I really encourage you to use some of your some of the structure in your creativity, and to put the creativity into what feels like work. I love having my business. My business feels like the greatest art project of all time. I'll also tell you the index card thing is how I wrote my first book. It's how I wrote Get It Done. I was starting to, I had the idea for the book, but I couldn't figure out what shape I wanted it to be. Like, what did I want? Did I want it to be stories? Did I want it to be like a workbook? Like, what did I think it should be? And of course I had that feeling of like, it has to be perfect inside of my head before I can even start. Perfectionism, anybody? So I started carrying around index cards, and every time I had an idea for something that I thought should be in the book, I would write it down, and then I put it in this big manila envelope labeled Genius. And after a couple of weeks of that, I emptied out the envelope onto my big dining room table and started just clumping them up. Like, oh, here's all the ideas that have to do with this, and here's the ones that have to do with that. And I sort of let the book tell me what it wanted to be. I let the book tell me. And then when I was writing, sometimes I would just lean and, reach into the envelope and pull it out and be like, there's what I'm writing today. And I sort of let fate would have a hand in what I was working on that day. It worked. I was going to show you the latest book, if I have it out. Oh, here it is. So here's the newest book. It's handwritten so far. So we'll have to see. This might be my Get It Done project, is to see if I can get this handwritten book into being a real book. Be fun. Good. So does it have a title? No, it doesn't. It has a lot of titles. It's more accurate. We'll see. We'll see what it turns into. Okay, so here's the strategy for the dealing with the blocks. Does anybody have any questions about Get It Done? Are you enrolling? Just enroll. Go to monstergetitdone.com. Tell your friends. It's super fun. It's $1 a day for your project. That's why it's $365. It's $1 a day for your project. $1 a day, 15 minutes a day. And let's face it, it's not like if you don't enroll, you're going to have an extra $365 at the end of the year. You're not. The money's going to go somewhere. So if check with yourself, check with your guardian angel, the one in charge of your education. Like, if it's a solid no, like, nope, I'm good, then great. Good. Go do your thing. But if you're feeling a little like, this could be, then go ahead and sign up. Go ahead and sign up. All right. So here's the strategy for the blocks that feel really immovable. And I'll communicate this to you through another story. Tamara says, I started my relationship with Sam. Tamara's one of my VIP clients. She's in 365 Club Pro. I started my relationship with Sam with the Get It Done workshop, and it was amazing. So much bang for your buck. Do it. Oh, thanks. Yes, it's true. Deborah says, I did this with you before and loved the sessions, but didn't move forward with my projects. The question in my head is, will it be different this time? Why will it be different this time? Well, it'll be different because you're at a different point in the stream, right? And I think you could even go into it with an idea that you're not going to move forward on your projects. You're just going to soak in the material and see what happens. Because you standing there with a big stick in your hand, whipping yourself, isn't helping. Which leads me to this strategy. This is going to be perfect for you, Deborah. So I used to work out a ton when I was in like my 30s and early 40s. I worked out a lot. And while I loved it, it also triggered sort of a very intense contracted part of my personality that I didn't really like. So when I moved to Carpinteria, I stopped, and I'd still go on walks and stuff, but I wasn't really doing anything regularly to get sweaty or work out. And then 2 years ago, I had really major surgery. So then I sat on the couch for 2 years, and any level of residual fitness I had just completely crumbled away. So, and I was really kind of mad at myself about it, right? I was having this feeling of like, why am I not doing this? Why am I not doing this? I love working out. What's the matter with me? Why don't I go swim? I love swimming. There's a beautiful pool. What's the matter? What's the matter with me? And I was so tired of that. I know how destructive that yelling voice in your head can be, and my head can be. So I decided to just flip the switch. And what I did was, every time I had the thought, I should be working out more, or I should be doing this, I would instead say, I wonder when I'll start working out again. I wonder what's going to happen to me that's going to make me want to start working out. I'm sure something is going to happen. I'm sure there's going to be some impetus, some flash, some sparkly breadcrumb that's going to arrive in my awareness, my life, and I'm going to want to work out again. I wonder when that will happen. I'm just going to sit here in a state of gleeful anticipation, knowing that this thing is inevitable. How about that? And sure enough, it worked. Not too long after I started doing that, the CrossFit in my town had a little 99-day, 3-week trial. And I was like, I can do $99 for 3 weeks. Sure. And I went, and I've totally fallen in love with it. And it's really hard, and I love it. And it does not trigger that, like, it's intense, but it's a different kind of experience for me. So I offer this to you. If there's things in your life where you're like, no, this condition is just not moving, to instead of greeting it with self-punishment, greet it from that falling in love place. Greet it from that expanded, optimistic, love is all around, zhuzhy feeling of like, oh, gosh, I wonder what's going to happen that's going to help me manage this autoimmune disease and get my work done. Gosh, I wonder what's going to happen that's going to bring that extra money that I've been looking for into my life. Gosh, I wonder what's going to happen that I suddenly get the courage to publish. I wonder what's going to happen. I can't wait. Right? And now your little antennas are going to be up looking for those opportunities. I wonder what the thing is that's going to ease me into this. Well, maybe it's the Get It Done workshop. Maybe that's the thing that's landed for you. Maybe it's something else entirely. But keep your eyes open. Keep your eyes open. Keep your heart light. Keep your tone kind and forgiving to yourself. You're doing the best you can. You've always done the best you can. And mostly you're doing great. You're doing great. You're so loving and successful. You're so smart. You've gotten so much great stuff done already. Like, this is not a question of willpower. It's not like you're not up to it. You are. So now we just get curious about, oh, what's going to be the key that's going to unlock it? You've got a little 1-degree shift to make between where you are and where you want to be. So get delighted about that. I wonder what that 1-degree shift is. I wonder what's going to happen. Is that helpful? See how you feel about that. So just to recap where we've been, we talked about being sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, and being sick and tired of procrastinating, and being sick and tired of self-criticism, and sick and tired of inertia. We talked about being primed for love, and about how you are love, and how the sensation of falling in love with other people, with your projects, with your children, with your animals, with your life, with your own beautiful self is available to you right in this moment, exactly as you are. That you can overflow with love right in this moment now. And we talked about how your blocks aren't real. You can see right through other people's blocks. And so you can take it from me, your blocks are just as not real. But for the ones that feel real, you can find some helpfuls. And maybe the thought is Anna saying, I love this idea. Yes, 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 very helpful. Stacy says, nice. Deborah says, so helpful. Yes, good, good, good. Yeah, so we can instead replace that punishing, whipping voice with a voice of curiosity, a falling in love voice, a voice of like, oh gosh, I wonder, I wonder, I wonder. And if this feels right to you, please go to monstergetitdone.com. Monster, like the monster's out from under the bed. It's a long story why it says monster get it done. I'll tell you some other time. It seemed like a good idea at the time. We talked about your creative process and where you might get stuck with ideas that come from wherever they come from into your mind, and how to find the helpfuls that nurture them into inspired first action, and then into momentum, and then to becoming a thing in the world. I got an email the other day from a woman, this is gonna make me cry, who bought a print of my grandmother's. My grandmother was a printmaker 25 years ago. And she was writing to tell me how much she loved it, and how she had seen another print of my grandmother's on eBay or something, but it was too expensive for her. And she wondered if I had any that I might be willing to let go for a lower price. But that if not, she just wanted me to know how much that piece of art had meant to her over the years. And it made me so happy. And I know it would make my grandmother so happy to know that, sorry, you guys, I hadn't planned on telling this story. To know that work that she did, in the 70s and the 80s, is still in the world, lifting people up and changing their minds and having an impact on their day. And you can do that too. Your work can do that too. It can live on after you. It can change people a little bit or a lot. The world needs your art. I don't just say that because I believe it in theory. I say it because I know it to be true for a fact. The world needs what you have to offer. The world needs your idea. This is why the idea has come to you to begin with, is because you're the person to do it. If you couldn't do it, you wouldn't have the idea. There's all those other ideas you don't have. Why? Because they're not yours. The ones you have are your ideas. They're for you to bring out into the world in whatever way feels right to you. So, the dishes don't get done. It doesn't matter. Your art doesn't get done. Your creativity doesn't get expressed. It matters. It matters. Good. So thank you all for being here with me and sticking through our technical difficulties and sticking with yourself and your own creative voice that the world needs so desperately. I want you to consider the offer of Get It Done. I would love to work with you. I would love to have you in this process. I'd love to see what we create together. And let's do one more round of breathing just to close out this circle. You ready? Let's inhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for doing this with me. Go make some art.